Hello and welcome back to JBCTR, where today we're going to do a quick video to show you the differences on the MACH1 compared to the standard GT model, because the MACH1 is quite a lot more expensive. So is it really worth it? So we'll dive straight into this one, and the first thing that is pretty obvious is the fact that this one looks a whole lot meaner than the standard GT model, and that's thanks to a number of visual additions. So we'll start with the most basic, and that's the decals on the bonnet, which is sort of like a satin strip up the middle, MACH1 logo in satin black with a nice red pinstripe around the outside. If we move down to the front of the bumper, as you can see, the upper half has got these pretty obnoxious looking round hole things, which I don't really understand the point of, but they look quite cool. A lot of people have suggested removing these interior bits and perhaps putting some spotlights in or something, but as standard it looks quite cool. Now if we move down to the lower half of the bumper, it looks very similar to the GT model, but actually it's very different. So for example, the whole of this section here is completely different. The whole lower grille again is completely different, and actually a little bit more aggressive on the MACH1. The splitter itself looks pretty much the same from the front, but on the side here there is a little spat, which is a nice little addition, I guess. If we continue round to the side profile, probably the most striking is the alloys. I believe there is actually a choice of two different alloys for the MACH1. These are my least favourite. The other ones are a little bit nicer, but both I think are nicer than the wheels that come on the standard GT model. And actually the ones on the GT model apparently are really heavy, so just swapping them out on a standard one is sure to give you a nice bit of performance gain. The badges here on the standard one obviously is a 5.0 badge to indicate that it's a 5-litre engine under the bonnet, but here we have a nice MACH1 badge, which I think looks much nicer. Red pinstripe down the side, and of course you've got the same splittered carry round from the front and round to the back. As you can see, we have a nice little sort of just a subtle lippy spoiler in the same kind of finish as the splitters on the side and at the front. But the best part about the rear by far is the lower diffuser and exhaust combo. So this is pretty much a brand new exhaust compared to the GT, presumably to make it freer flowing, to give you the extra power, which I will cover in a second. But actually the tips on this exhaust is so much nicer than the ones in the GT. I mean, in my opinion, I think the GT tips look a little bit unfinished. But if we carry on round the back, the centre part of this diffuser looks pretty damn aggressive, and of course in the middle here we have a MACH1 badge as opposed to the galloping horse. Let's go inside. On the inside, it's not that much different. You still get a lot of the really awesome spec you get on the GT model, like the B&O sound system and all that kind of stuff. Mainly visual changes really. So the dash is like this darker kind of material. Instead of having Mustang here, you've got a MACH1 with a chassis number. And lastly, probably the best change on the interior actually is this gear knob. I mean, it kind of looks okay, but the way it feels in the hand is so much nicer than the standard one. And obviously this is kind of the party piece. Now, if we look under the bonnet, this is where the real magic happens. Now, when you open the bonnet, what is immediately noticeable is this massive open air induction kit that they fitted. It's probably the biggest one I have ever seen fitted as standard to a car by a manufacturer. The other most obvious change is the fact that they've removed the engine cover, which I don't really understand why they've done that, but hey, it looks kind of all right as it is. But going back to the induction kit, this is kind of what they've done to make the MACH1 a bit faster. So clearly 5-litre V8 is naturally aspirated, and tuning naturally aspirated engines is a little bit tough. The only real thing you can do is increase their breathing, which means obviously induction kit and the freer flowing exhaust, which Ford have also done, different kind of software, and that gives you an extra 10 horsepower. But I mean, that's kind of all you can do with a naturally aspirated engine really, unless you want to start boosting and charging it. So Ford have done everything that you want to do to it, and you can buy it off the shelf. Now, I'll be honest, the exhaust they fitted to the MACH1, it looks a whole lot nicer from the rear but compared to the GT, it doesn't actually sound that much different. So that's the main differences between the GT model and the MACH1. But if we look back in history, when the MACH1 was first launched in 1968, I believe it was, it actually put the GT out of production for a few years because it was so successful and people were just buying MACH1s. So in 2022, do we reckon that this car here, priced at just shy of £58,000, can do the same thing? Is this better than the GT? Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you enjoy this or found it useful, click here to make sure you're subscribed. And if you want to see another of my videos, because they're pretty good, click here. And I will see you in the next one.